Hello and welcome to It's a Question Time.
The Rick Show.
It's a question for Rick. Actually, yeah, it's a question that a friend of mine had a few years ago. I want to ask you, see how you would handle
Okay.
the situation, and maybe it would help some of the people who might be
And
watching.
that's why we do this.
And you can share it with people who maybe would be dealing with something similarly. Okay, so this question, basically down to the nuts and bolts of it, is how do you be gracious to someone who is not being a gracious person, whether it's towards you or towards somebody else? The situation I had, a friend of mine was dealing with her friends who were getting a divorce, and the husband, she was friends with both of them, and the husband was being so ungracious that my friend would just feel like she'd lose her patience and she just wanted to,
And you're trying to help, and
yeah,
they're
it
just
was
not.
hard. And she said, I know I'm supposed to be gracious, but I don't know how. So
Okay.
how would you handle that? Or how would you?
Yeah. First of all, to say that I know I'm supposed to be gracious is a little bit off kilter with me because it's not a rule of law. It's an empowerment that happens, with grace. And so, like so many things, it comes back to we want to learn of Jesus because he's gracious and he's humble and all those things that he said about himself. And so we learn that in our relationship with him. And when we know his amazing grace, and when we really accept that, it really just has an effect of making us gracious. And what that does is it makes us it makes us almost it makes our emotions more independent of how other people are acting so that we can be the blesser.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus could stay who he was with with everybody coming at him. It says, look at him who endured such a contradiction of sinners against himself, but yet he loved them and died for them. And there's no more greater demonstration of graciousness than that. But he did that when people accused him and came at him, and did all they did, and he would say, "There's one that bears witness of me, and that's the Father. That's who I'll listen to. That's who I believe." And so, and that's knowing that grace and that love of the Father. And so, when you have that, it makes you gracious because, like we say a lot, it makes you big enough inside to where you can stay big enough and above the fray of how people are acting and the emotions of the interactions with that, to where you can remember that you're big enough to be the blesser, and this person is ungracious because of whatever reasons. They're hurting, they're dysfunctional, they're broken in their soul, and broken in their heart, and for some reason they're that way. And that's another wonderful thing about knowing God's grace in your own life, is it helps us with the spirit of understanding. And that, I think, learning those things by walking with God, in the light of his love and his grace, it really empowers us to just be aware of that, to be aware that people are hurting. And so it keeps us from taking it so personal. Because when it becomes personal, then it's like that's when we don't know what to do. It's like, I feel like just slapping this person.
Yeah.
But there again, things come down to it. This is why there's so much focus on the love and the grace of God, because the more we know that, the more loving and gracious we just automatically become. And there's not a rule for what to tell a person like that, that certain things aren't to be spoken up and confronted about. There's no rule about it. It's just that you will operate in graciousness and in love, no matter what it is that you're supposed to say. It just becomes a part of who you are. It is a part of our nature as a new creations, but it seems like a lot of our minds don't know that yet. For one thing, we haven't been taught a pure grace, a pure love of God. And a lot of us are just learning that now, and it's making us more gracious.
I really like that because what you're talking about is having your own relationship with God, which then brings grace into your heart to give to others. And in those moments where you run out or you feel like you don't have it, there's not a formula. There's not a
Mm-hmm.
thing that you have to do. It's just go back to the Father and you receive
and that's
from
where
Him,
it comes from.
and then
And it's not a rule of, okay, I'm supposed to be gracious, I'm supposed to be loving, I'm supposed to be that, because that mentality is a law keeping mentality, a rule keeping mentality, and those, they never empower you. You'll always run out of your own willpower in this.
It's like you're
and
operating
you'll struggle.
in death, like it's a death.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole other realm. It's the death realm, actually.
Yeah.
So there's this other one. That's why we say, let your heart be established in grace. That's the word of God.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, honey.
All right, I hope that helps.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.